Hare Krishna, beautiful people. Hello and welcome to the Soul Ashraya podcasts. We are your hosts. I am Bhakta Jake, and this is my friend and teacher, Balaram Shakti Das. We are devoted to bring you ancient wisdom for the modern day. Join us as we read the Krishna book by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, and let us share with you the wonderful shelter or ashraya of our dear Lord Krishna. Please join us in the sublime process of transforming our consciousness by hearing and discussing spiritual concepts. Balaram Shakti Das, where in the world are you today?
Yes, as you can see, I'm back in the truck. Nice to be back to work. Took me longer than I anticipated to get in the truck and to leave Tucson, but that was seems all in divine order.
Yeah.
Yeah, I stayed a few extra days
Okay.
than I anticipated, and I'm really glad I did.
Okay,
I'll
cool.
just but yeah, I'm somewhere outside of like Austin, Texas,
All right.
going down to Laredo.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Sounds good. Sounds good. Hey, we were talking just before the show, and I didn't get a chance to kind of recap going to see Shelter last Sunday. That's why I didn't do a show. We couldn't do a show.
Yeah.
Was I went to see Shelter with Jujitsu Nath or Mukunda Das, whatever you'd like to call him. And let me tell you what, man, they Shelter practices what they preach and preaches what they practice without a doubt. That little blurb that I put on the WhatsApp group was like almost word for word right out of Raghunath's mouth during the show. And it was like they would stop almost like every song and do a little preaching, if you want to call it that, it was it was yeah, it was awesome. And of course they start the show with like this amazing mantra chanted by, I think it is like the some kind of boys choir from Mayapur. And there's a little clip of it in the beginning of the album mantra, but the whole thing itself is like, I don't know, like maybe 10 minutes long, and they play the whole thing right before they go on stage, and then they get into it like perfectly timed. So it was really good. It was very good, and it was a very spiritually uplifting thing. And like I've said many times, I saw them back in the day, but I didn't understand what was going on back in the day. I was like, what is this? I don't know. The music's cool, but what is happening here? So yeah.
So it was like having text in context, so to speak. Oh, Jake's got to step away from that. Probably his kid.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
No problem.
So yeah.
So yeah, like it's one thing to just like take in the vibe, um, and all the sounds and things, but to actually have a context of what the meaning is. You want to speak on that? Like
Yeah, I will definitely speak on that. The meaning is like okay, so I mean there's so many aspects of, like, I don't know. It's to have the courage and the strength and the wisdom all at the same time to go and play a show in like downtown Buffalo of all places. Okay. Where, I mean, it was at a bar. And when I walked in, I walked right out because it smelled but a venue is a venue, and someone worked very hard to get them to play there. You know, like nothing happens by like accident or coincidence, you know? So there were people there that needed to hear the message probably more than anybody else, right? So despite the circumstances, you know, um, the message going forward was that of like, you know, purity, strength, hope, love. And you're speaking to people that think that like the universe and the earth was created from the big bang or whatever, you know, like these are like, you know, they got like their Pabst Blue Ribbon or their Bud Light, and they're, you know, they're kind of waiting for the Bills to win again, you know, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to have the strength and the courage to say, hey, listen, you know, there is a deeper meaning to all this. You know, these aren't just like fun songs. You know, there
Yeah.
is a deeper meaning, and then just let that do, let the words go forward, and just let everything else just happen. But uh Krishna Chaitanya, the bass player, they had the original bass player, Krishna Chaitanya. And let me tell you something, Balaram. I really think you guys were separated at birth, because he is a very serious devotee, and it was wonderful talking to him.
Mm.
And he had to finish his rounds before they went on. So we got to hang out and talk a little bit, but he was like, I have to stop you right there because I have got to finish my rounds before we go on. And so I was like, okay, all right. But yeah, he's a very, very serious devotee. Uh, Pleasure talking to him. I talked to him the most. And he, I think, he knows Rajras. And I think um, Krishna Chaitanya lives at New Vrindavan. I think that's what he was saying. Was he lives there? Do people live there in
Oh
New
yeah.
Vrindavan, like
Yeah.
permanent?
Yeah. Yeah. I lived
Oh,
there,
okay, okay.
but there's people that live like in the surround. Well, yeah, Brian also lived there. Um, I mean, we were living in the dormitory, but there's people that live like on the campus, you could say. There's like different housing areas, and then there's probably most of the people, um, untold number of people live like in the surrounding town, you
Oh,
know,
okay, okay, all right.
and you might not see them until like Janmashtami or something like that. But
Okay.
so I don't know if I ever met.
He's he's very quiet. He's kind of introverted, but
Probably did. Right. I was there long enough. I'm sure I saw him there.
he is not he's not like out
Yeah.
like, yo, I'm the bass player for Shelter. He's not like that. You know, he's very reserved, very laid back, and but very,
Yeah.
very knowledgeable.
You
And
know what? I think I know who this person is. I met a bass player kind of shortly before leaving, and we had some really cool conversations.
yes,
Yeah, that I think that was him. He
yes,
was he was sort of groovy kind of dude.
yeah, 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 for sure, for sure.
Tell yeah, he's a musician.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay. I
yeah.
don't quite remember what he looks like. I want to
Well,
say like this is, but
he's tall. He's got glasses. He wears tilak. He wears like very very devotee clothes. Like he, you know, like very like not any like no kind of rock and roll stuff or anything like that. You know, I'm I mean I met him like one time. So who knows what he wears really? You know, but I will say he set my mind at ease about being initiated. And he said, don't worry about it. He's like, just work on your chanting, work on your studies. The guru thing will happen. He gave me the best advice. He said, right now, just consider Srila Prabhupada to be your guru. And until a guru comes along, and one will come along, one will come into your life, just consider Srila Prabhupada to be your shelter for right now, and just, you know, focus on your chanting, you know, and just let everything, don't be in a rush to be initiated, basically, is what he said, you know. So it was very, very nice. Hare Krishna, our guests, our new guests. Nice to see everybody. Dandavat pranams. Thank you for joining. So yeah, so I don't know if that answers your question. I hope it does.
Yeah, no, that's great. And one thing I wanted to say was that Raghunath, to me, just so deeply embodies that, you know, talking about, you know, deep meaning in life, you know, that there is a meaning. It's like he actually lives that, you know, like you feel that when you're with him. It's not just an idea, you know, shelter isn't just an idea for him. It's something like he really lives, and just being around him, you can feel that. So, yeah, I just really appreciate it. Yeah. And then as far as the guru bit, it's like, you know, we're definitely, you know, taking shelter and, you know, kind of connecting those ideas, you know, finding meaning in reading these books, you know, spiritual insight and all that. But I think a very important idea for us to, you know, keep is that guru isn't just a singular concept. You know, guru is very much plural. In the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita, and you can find this. Where's my? Oh, it's up there. You can find this in the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita as well. I'm not sure where, I haven't opened up the CC in such a long time, but that's ecstatic that you have it right there.
I got, let me see here. Like halfway through the introduction, and
it's high level, huh? Yeah, the introduction of that book is like, what is it? It's postgraduate.
Potent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada writes out the Mangala Charan, which you know, we do a shortened version of before we read here. But the Mangala Charan, I believe that's from the CC, is the first words spoken are Vande Gurun. Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Yuta Padakamalam, right? And it just goes on and on and on. But Gurun means guru plural. So it's, I offer my respects to all of my gurus. You know, not just like, you know, I was listening to someone just yesterday speak on this. Generally, you know, devotees like to ask each other, who's your guru? Right? And they're expecting a singular answer. Well, this one person is my guru. And it's like, but we have so many gurus, you know, so to just make it just like one person, that can be a little unhelpful, I think, in some regard. You know what I mean? It's like Jake's okay, he's back with us.
I'm back.
It's all right. You got to take care of your kids. But yeah, it's like, you know, the point I'm trying to get to is like, it's not so helpful if you're only thinking about guru as only being one person, because that's not the fact. Every true religion is trying to bring us to Sri Guru, you know, and that's a state of consciousness. You know, for the Christians, that's Christ. Christ is the equivalent of Guru. it's that place where spirit meets matter and reminds us of the underlying reality of grace, right? And like extends that into the world. And it's like, you're not just going to find that in one person. You're going to find that, guess what? Everywhere you look is guru, you know? So the truly enlightened soul is going to see guru everywhere. And this Swami was speaking, it was like so beautiful because he was just going through Trinadapi Sunichana, the third verse of Shikshastakam, which I know all three of you have memorized. No, it's a very short verse and it's very important. It's said, the Vaishnava should wear this verse around our neck. As it describes, um, true humility, and you could say like varying degrees of spiritual consciousness progressive degrees of spiritual consciousness are given in this verse, which I hadn't thought of that before. But it's like, okay, yeah, it's describing like 4 stages. First is humility, being lower than grass, or being as humble as grass. Then is tolerant as a tree. Then giving respect to all, but not expecting any respect for yourself. It's like you can see how this is like, okay, that's a little bit deeper. That's a little deeper. And the 4th is Kirtaniya Sada Hari. They're constantly vibrating the name of God. And it's also like a prescription. We want to be constantly chanting Hari, constantly chanting the names of God, the glories of God, and so forth. That's spiritual consciousness. That's eternal consciousness, and that's our goal. And in order to be able to do that, these are the things. These are like the benchmarks. But he was saying how like he was describing the first part of that, Trinadapi Sunichana, as humble as a blade of grass, and how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and I believe he's getting this directly from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, if not from the commentators, that Lord Gauranga, just by seeing a blade of grass, he comprehended that teaching. It's like he drew that from a blade of grass, from the humility of a blade of grass, that when they're stepped on, they don't break, they bend, and that they're low, they don't puff themselves up or anything. And it's like he drew so much just from looking at this insignificant, like how significant is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? How insignificant is a blade of grass? And it's like he accepted, it's like because his vision is so cosmic, like so, he is so God conscious. I mean, he's God himself, right? He should be. But he's seeing Guru in everything. It's like, this is spiritual consciousness. And so, again, I think it's important, of course, like, yes, the Diksha Guru, right? They're going to give you mantra. They're going to give you the potency of mantra, which we will be talking about coming up in our reading. The importance of that. But real spiritual consciousness is like, you're seeing the, the sacred mystery being revealed to you in everything. Right? It's like there isn't anything outside. It's not just like, oh, well, I have my guru and you have your thing, and that's in no way does that inform my spiritual path. It's like, what version of God do you, and this is a general criticism of the Christians. It's like, are we lumping ourselves in the same category as like only seeing religion as being one thing or one path or one person, or is God in everything? It's like, no, I believe in the one true God, and not only do I believe, but my actual experience of life is like confirming that at every step. It should, it will do that as well. So anyway, Guru, it's like we have many gurus. Bhagavatam, there's the Brahmana who has 24 gurus. One of them is a prostitute. So it's like, there you go. Just, putting that out there. That he's able to learn from everything in his environment. And, our lineage, it's not like that's just some other thing, but our lineage is a lineage of Shiksha gurus. So the Diksha Guru is not necessarily the prominent one. It's who are you being inspired by. So to get back to the point, not wanting to draw this out too much, but I think it's important, especially considering who our viewers might be, maybe not all initiated devotees, that we're taking shiksha from Srila Prabhupada, we're taking inspiration from Srila Prabhupada, right? And we're accepting him in that regard of guru. And yeah, that's really what's important, is we're receiving Krishna through the mercy of devotees, right, that we're associating with and hearing from. And so to just keep that, right, and just kind of let Krishna reveal himself as he wills.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that was it was all in all, I guess it was a good show. So let's move on to the prayers, because it's time to pray.
Yeah, so we'll chant now to the gurus in this lineage.
Yes.
For their benedictions.
Wow, it's so funny how like you miss a week and you're like, oh, where am I? Like, wow. Oh my goodness. So yes, let's focus our minds, chant these very auspicious, very potent mantras, and just get focused, and then get right into Krishna book. Yeah. Balaram, if you would please have the honors and lead us.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatane. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Panchakalpatarubhischa Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Text. Jai Shri Krishna. Okay, and then big. Okay, so here is the text, and we are going to start right back here with the where Mother Yashoda was chanting different mantras to protect Krishna. Balaram, you wanted to kind of expand on that?
I'm gonna, well, after we read the next paragraph, I'll talk about that. I dug into the Bhagavatam itself in the section of verses that are directly translating this part. And yeah, found some interesting things there, particularly in regards to these evil spirits that are listed in this upcoming paragraph. So yeah, why don't we just go ahead and read? Yeah, Mother Yashoda and the gopis had just done these purificatory things for Krishna's sake, thinking it was for Krishna's sake. And yeah, more on that to come as well.
Okay. So you want to start right there with thus Mother Yashoda?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So we're kind of recapping this from a couple of episodes ago. We wanted to go over this and just kind of revisit it. Where it's almost at the end of the chapter, but I'll just go ahead and start reading. Okay. Thus, Mother Yashoda chanted different names of Vishnu to protect child Krishna's different bodily parts. Mother Yashoda was firmly convinced that she could protect her child from different kinds of evil spirits and ghosts, namely Dakinis, Yatudanis, Kusmandas, Yakshas, Rakayakshas, Venyakshas, Kotaras, Ravatis, Jayathas, Putanas, Matrakas, Unmadas, and similar other evil spirits who cause persons to forget their own existence and give trouble to the life heirs and the senses. Sometimes they appear in dreams and cause much perturbation. Sometimes they appear as old women and suck the blood of small children. But no such ghosts and evil spirits can remain where there is chanting of the holy name of God. Mother Yashoda was firmly convinced of the Vedic injunctions about the importance of cows and the holy name of Vishnu. Therefore, she took all shelter in the cows and the name of Vishnu just to protect her child Krishna. She recited all the holy names of Vishnu so that he might save the child. Vedic culture has taken advantage of keeping cows and chanting the holy name of Vishnu since the beginning of history. And persons who are still following the Vedic ways, especially the householders, keep at least 12 cows and worship the deity of Lord Vishnu, who is installed in their house. Persons who are advancing in Krishna consciousness should take instruction from this pastime and also be very interested in cows and the holy name of Vishnu.
Why don't you just go ahead and read the next paragraph too, and then we'll pause.
Okay. All right. I just love how this is resonating with me right now. I just love it. I'm just basking in it. Okay. So the elder gopis of Vrindavan were so absorbed in affection for Krishna that they wanted to save him, although there was no need to, for he had already protected himself. They could not understand that Krishna was the supreme personality of Godhead playing as a child. After performing the formalities to protect the child, Mother Yashoda took Krishna and let him suck her breast, which the child was protected by Vishnu mantra. Mother Yashoda felt that he was safe. In the meantime, all the cowherd men who had gone to Mathura to pay tax returned home and were struck with wonder at seeing the gigantic dead body of Putana.
Yeah.
You want to keep on going one more? Or?
No, let's pause. Let's pause there. There's
Okay.
a lot. lot to discuss
All right.
here. Yeah, so first of all, in this last paragraph, just to kind of reiterate, Mother Yashoda doesn't know that Krishna is God, right? No one in the village knows that he's actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead, playing, or you could almost say pretending to be a child, just to enjoy the loving exchange of being in that relationship. And so,
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing?
really, really. So they're acting in these ways to protect him. They don't know that he doesn't need protecting, and he's just kind of going along with that. So the previous paragraph is giving us a lot of information here. It's talking about different evil spirits.
Yes.
And then it's talking about the sanctity of cows and the worship of the deity and the holy names of Vishnu. Right? So these are all things that are just not familiar to us in the West. Right?
Right.
I mean, if we go way back, before the time of like the Salem witch trials, when they sort of exercised, so to speak, all of such ways of thinking from the society, right? Like talking about diseases as being the influence of evil spirits, and if you sneeze, say God bless you, so the demon leaves your body, right? Well, we still do that, but most of the rest of our practices they got rid of.
Yeah.
But the Vedic culture has always had an understanding of these things. And, I was thinking as I was hearing you read the, worship of the deity of Lord Vishnu, who is installed in their house. So we can think about this like if we're
I'm not going to show you, but yeah, behind these curtains is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, who do you have in your house?
And many other
Right.
things. Yeah.
And think about that in a sort of like metaphorical sense. If your house is like your mind, right? What are the different entities that you have invited into your home?
Perfect. I love it. Yes.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
house is your mind. Your mind is your house.
Yeah.
You want to be bringing good things in. You want good things going in your eyes, in your ears, in your mouth, in your nostrils. You want good things, not like ridiculous things. You want always good things. You want to live on that level. Sorry to jump out. It's like I just woke up. Sorry if I'm scaring everybody, but
yeah, please jump on.
This is something that is so that I have learned from having an altar, which you can have the most simple altar in the world. It doesn't matter how elaborate it is, as long as you have something in your house that you really respect, that you, when you enter the room, you enter it with a feeling of reverence, and you have incense and you can light incense and have all these things. There really is something to it, and it will change your life if you do this. And it's not just, let's say, a quote unquote Hindu thing. It's not just that. It's like every spiritual belief, you should have a place in your house where, okay, this is like a quiet place, this is the quiet corner, at least something like that, like this is your inner sanctum, whatever you want to call it. We just feel like it's Vishnu, and so we have Vishnu. Like I have Vishnu, I have a Morty of lots of things, and let me tell you, it makes such a difference day to day. I could come home tired from work, kids are yelling and screaming, throwing beer cans at me or whatever. Just kidding. But but I know that I can walk into this room that's kind of separated and just hit the floor, ring the bell, say some mantras, just give it all. Just give the whole day,
And how true has that become for you internally in your own mind? Like, do you like having a refuge, an inner sanctum?
Oh, it's always there. It's always there. It's almost as if you could imagine like just an inch by inch square cube in your mind, like if you could picture it like that, maybe that's kind of weird, but like a little cube that's like actually in your brain, and it's like this is the altar room, but like what you have on the outside, what you have on the outside reflects what you have on the inside, and it makes a huge difference, and it changes your whole outlook on life because now you're seeing everything through the lens of God. You're saying, this is wow, I'm having a really bad day, I can rely on the Lord. It might not get better just like that, it might not be like rainbows and sparkly horses and stuff like that all of a sudden, but I have the comfort of knowing that whatever I'm going through, God is there taking care, and it's gonna be okay. It's like the hope. It's the hope, and that really gets you through. But yeah, it's the renewing of the mind, you could say. The Bible talks about that a lot, the renewing of the mind, the purifying of the mind. We're just purifying our mind through the chanting of the holy names, through worshiping Vishnu, through worshiping Krishna. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all I'm about, man. That's all I'm about. So do you want to talk about all these rakshachas?
Yeah, you can take this screenshot.
Oh.
Just because we're probably gonna talk for.
Oh wow, jeez.
But yeah,
go ahead.
It's okay. It's we're creating an inner space in the core of the heart, really. That's where the Lord is found. And that's what the yoga text is describing, saying, like the Western psychology, we don't necessarily have such a concrete understanding of the inner workings of the mind. We're aware that there are inner workings, right? But the yoga texts are saying, like, look, people, like, here it is, like, here's the science. The soul is situated in the heart next to the supreme soul, whom he is to worship, and see that everything is coming from him, and enter into a fullness of consciousness, not just this illusion where we disempower ourselves to be victimized by the material energy, but to actually come into the fullness of ourself, right? And our potential for loving everything, including that which is victimizing us. So it's like really, really powerful stuff. So what happens when that's not the case, right? And because this is like the nuts and bolts of philosophy, is it should speak to what we're experiencing now. It's like, well, we haven't installed the deity of Vishnu in our home,
Okay.
unless we're a pure devotee, right? And
Sure.
so what happens then is, like, what sort of entities are coming into our home? We're letting anyone and their mother, influence how we're thinking and who we're following. When I was in college, I had posters of all sorts of entities on my walls, and they weren't saints. I'll just say that.
Yeah, probably some kind of crazy rock and roll band had that. Huh?
Crazy.
Probably got pictures of ZZ Top.
Anyway, Hare Krishna to that, but it's just a example to illustrate. But this text here is spelling out some of these entities, right? and talking about how they can appear in dreams, cause, mental disturbance,
Yeah.
suck the blood of small children. Okay, not sure about that, but we'll just go with that. And so on and so forth. So I looked up in the 10th canto, but before I get to that, I wanted to share this bit on the three worlds, which I think you will get something very interesting from. And those are Bhur, Bhuva, and Swar, right? There's other ways of classifying what the three worlds might mean, but this is very helpful for us. So Bhur is, and I'm going to read a sort of translation that I found very beautiful. Bhur is where we are in the world of our perception, right? So everything that we're seeing, experiencing, generally our consciousness is occupied here. We say this is the real world. Well, this is the sort of foundational strata of the real world. And even that, it's not the real world. It's just, this is the like negative side of reality. Bhuvar is at the back of that, our mental acquisition, our karmic mentality of sensual predilection. So Bhuvar is sort of this intermediate zone, if you will. Some people call it the astral plane. It's the realm of the mind. It's where the mind gets influenced, you could say. And that's the realm, I'm going to say, that these ghosts occupy. In fact, that's what they say. Bhuvar is where ghosts and spirits reside, right? And that's why they attack your mind, right? That's why your mind thinks things that you're like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
That came from an entity. It didn't just come from nothing. And then Swar, also known as Buddhi Loka, the realm of the intellect, or the plane of fine decision, the choice of movement up or down, the
Interesting.
faculty of reason. Okay. And he goes on to explain all of the realms of the universe. And then Brahmaloka, equipoised verge of the positive worlds, then the world of reality. She calls dedication and loving service the soul's nature proper in the Shiva Loka residence, then further to Vaikunta, Ayodhya, Dwarka, then Mathura, and finally Vrindavan, Krishna Loka. So that's very interesting. So those are the sort of strata of the spiritual world. Okay, so now we have these different spirits. So in the Bhagavatam, the translation that Prabhupada gives for this verse, which he sort of summarizes in the Krishna book, he says, the evil witches known as Dakinis, Yatudhanis, and Kushmandas are the greatest enemies of children. Okay, so that's what it says about those three. So, I mean, we've kind of like forgotten a lot of the things that happened to us as children because our parents or whomever told us that, oh, you're just imagining that, or it doesn't matter, it's not important, it's not real, don't pay attention to that, so it's like, do you remember any of your dreams as a child? Like, probably not. I mean, some of you, if you were conscious, okay, Karina's nodding her head. Yeah, I remember, a couple nightmares and some dreams, but anyways, different things that disturb children. Okay, they don't disturb adults. They prey on children. Okay. Evil spirits like bhutas, pretas, pishachas, which those two weren't mentioned here. Yakshas, rakshasas, and vinayakas, as well as witches like Kotara, Revati, Jyeshta, Putana, and Matrika. So it's interesting. Those are listed plural in here, like Putanas, Jeshtas, Matrikas, Kotaras. But here they're listed as just a singular entity. So I'm not sure what to make of that. Could be they're like a class of being, but it could just, but generally, and I did some research as well, I only found them referenced as a singular entity. So it says, are always ready to give trouble to the body, the life air, and the senses, causing loss of memory, madness, and bad dreams. Like the most experienced evil stars, they all create great disturbances, especially for children, but one can vanquish them simply by uttering Lord Vishnu's name. For when Lord Vishnu's name resounds, all of them become afraid and go away. So, yeah, so very interesting. There's these bad elements being described: memory, loss of memory, madness, and bad dreams.
Yeah, Prabhu, let me just interject here real quick and just bring up another point now.
Yeah.
So there is a tremendous amount of popularity with things like, especially this time of year, like scary stories, horror movies, horror literature, all that kind of stuff. I know it might sound fuddy-duddy, but I'm telling you, don't look at that stuff. Don't look at it, because it's got spirits on it. And if you look at, I'm sorry, I'm kind of like cranking it up to 11. But yeah, if anyone wants to say anything about that, go ahead, because I avoid all that stuff.
I totally agree. Absolutely. And I'm just almost thinking like, dang, I don't even want to be in America during that time. But of course we have the holy name, so we don't need to leave the country. But at the same time, it'll also be Kartik. So let us take shelter in envisioning that Leela and in the shelter of the devotees, and like let that be the celebration, because the other stuff is going to be, increasing just because that's the culture. So let us take shelter.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things I noticed the first when I got into Krishna consciousness is the month of Kartik, and how wonderful it is. I mean, it's like back to back Krishna holiday all year long, and it's so great because it's like, yay, we just had Janmashtami, and now we're gonna have Kartik, and there's a whole bunch of stuff in between, so I guess just to really kind of bring it up to modern speed, if you want to call it that, modern specs, if you want to call it that, watching horror movies has a definite effect on your consciousness. It's not just, like a silly thing. Entertainment is, what are you putting into your mind? What are you really putting into your mind? Because the people that I know who watch horror movies constantly are like the most miserable people. I love them, and all you can do is love them, but they're always like, I'm gonna die. They're just walking around like that, like, yeah, I think I'll just walk out into traffic. It's like, no, 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 no. No, and lo and behold, they know everything about the latest and greatest horror movies coming out and all this craziness, and they just live in that world, and they just, it's weird. It's weird how people are like that. Go ahead.
Likewise, with the frequency of music that we're listening to. So yeah, I've just noticed in people who really like dense music or like heavier energy, that what's the quality of their joy? What's the quality of their peace? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is the Bhuvar Loka. Like, it's a very real thing. In a sense, it has like more reality than this reality. You know, each step up you know, is more substantive. So, like, that's the plane of mental acquisition. You know, karmic mentality, sensual predilection. So it's like you're bringing those energies. Like on this plane, it seems like it's just whatever. They're just objects. They're in front of your, you know, the screen of consciousness for a moment, and then they're gone. And we think, oh, it's gone. No, it's not gone. Like, ask anyone, you know, about something that happens in the past. Like, if it's like, is it still there? Are they still like, is it still affecting them in some way? It's like, yeah, it's because you carry it with you. It's just, it's not the responsibility of this plane to accommodate that. It's like there's a higher plane that stores all these things, you know, and Swarga as well. Like there's these beings in that celestial plane, and it's a battle of consciousness. Like it's really, you know, some real stuff. So who we're bringing into our home, you know, so the Supreme Lord is our best friend, right? That's who he is. That's what he is. He's always our best friend. And these other entities, you know, there's a lot of demons out there, and they're not your friend. Like that's what they are.
They might act like your friend. They might give you a little, you know, they might kind of, here, you know, here's some candy there, kid. You know, everything looks really nice in the beginning, but then all of a sudden,
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking before, Jake being a bus driver and whether or not he lets strange looking men wearing cloaks onto the bus. And he said no, they're not allowed on the bus.
yes, yes.
What if they have really good candy though, Jake?
Well, yeah, that's I guess that is a pretty good analogy, you know, like, you know, my new vocation is being a bus driver. So like we are trained extensively, like who to bring on and who not to bring on. So, you know, obviously, you know, I guess that's a pretty good, you know, picture. You know, you have a bus full of innocent children. You're not going to bring on some crazy looking person on the side of the road, no matter what they look like, you know? But yeah, the training is extensive, and it's like, do not let anyone in, period. No matter what, you know? So yeah, pretty good analogy out or yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I also wanted to share this bit that I found on Unmada's, the last one mentioned in our text, because it describes pretty well like what's going on, like when we watch scary movies, particularly insanity. This is very interesting. So Unmada refers to insanity.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Accordingly, an abnormal excess of the three doshas make their way upwards through improper channels, causing an obstruction of the sense carrying passages. So like the you know, the eyes, the nose, the ears, the mind, there's subtle channels that the information, you know, flows into your consciousness, and those get obstructed when you have an improper balance of the doshas, which is, you know, pitta, vata, and kapha. Yeah. So that's, you know, earth, water, fire, air, space, the combination of those elements.
I would have failed that.
You would have failed that test.
I would have failed that test. I got 2 out of 3.
Resulting in unsoundness of the mind. This is a mental disease and is called insanity. That's what it's called. In its primary and undeveloped stage, it is called mudda, or distraction. Do any of us here suffer from that? Yeah, distraction. And what is mainstream society trying to
What?
get us to
What?
do, Jake?
Oh, what? What?
Yeah, they're trying to, I mean, not to just point this like us versus them thing, because like we're all culpable. Yeah, right? It's like, yeah, no, I want something to distract myself. I want some movie to impress upon me further development of distraction vis-a-vis insanity, and just, yeah, lose my mind. Insanity is of 8 different kinds, according as it is due to an abnormal excess of Vayu, Pitta, Kapha, a combination of these three. Okay, Vayu, Pitta, Kapha, excesses, a combination, mental agony, poison, influence of evil spirits, and intense sexual desire. These are all things that cause Unmada. Actually, Unmada is, in regards to the last one, also a stage of love. So sometimes the gopis are said to have that. So, but generally, it's like on the mundane plane, it's like, bro, you're crazy. You're crazy for her, right? It's like, oh yeah, that's a thing.
So
Starts being a little distracted, letting your mind kind of veer.
yeah, yeah. So many beautiful poems and bhajans have been written about how the gopis are just mad about Krishna, you know, just crazy about Krishna, you know, and oh, they're so sad when he leaves, you know, and it's all of these things are written in such a beautiful way, and they're talking about a dimension that is like that we don't really understand in the material world. But that's
So
very interesting that that is a thing. That is very interesting.
yeah. So speaking of the invisible elements, the final thing I saw here, I just, this is amazing. So um, Shiva and his consort Parvati discuss many things, right? Metaphysics, cosmology, you know, uh, so many different subjects. And in one of them, she requests that Shiva reveal to her the remedy for the ailments that afflict divine and worldly beings, right? So she's talking to Shiva. Maybe they're talking about the horror movies in Kali Yuga, and, you know, all the different things going on, and they're, you know, the cell phone distraction. Like, Shiva, how, you know, what can help people that are afflicted by these things, you know, because these are like invisible elements, sometimes evil spirits that are affecting us. Uh, and so, yeah, Shiva confirms in the list of maladies that supernatural beings that cause illness.
Hmm.
Then, yeah, that Shiva discusses supernatural beings that cause such disease demonstrates how invisible forces affect the world in observable ways. Now, add on to this, in order to counter these forces, Shiva reveals another invisible but observable element. Can any of you guess what that is? Something that we all practice every day.
Chanting with sound.
Chanting with sound. Mantra.
Oh, okay.
Excellent. 10 points to Karina.
100 points.
100.
108 points.
108 points. Chanting mantras. It's an invisible force, but it has observable effects in this world. So touching back on Guru, you know, the importance of accepting Guru is they give you mantra, and when you receive it from someone who's connected with the spiritual world, it's infused with that potency. And so it has that effect. Otherwise, who's to say if it's spiritual sound or mundane sound? But anyway, that's what I have heard in regards to the efficacy of mantra in the context of guru. But yeah, absolutely. Mantra is coming. It's like acting on a different plane. And as we're reading the names of Vishnu, wherever they are chanted, none of these malefacts can occur.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't get a time when we started, but I know we're getting close. But
Yeah.
go ahead, Karina.
Yeah, thank you so much for clarifying around like distraction as the first level of insanity. And that just makes me want to be way more strict about what I'm directing my attention to. And how amazing that the remedy is also there, and it's something we do already, is just chanting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's said that, of chanting, the practice of chanting, there are 10 offenses to be avoided, right? It's like in order for the chanting to be effective, like these things will impede that. And guess what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says is the root of all 10 of those from what we just discussed?
Distraction.
108 points, DJ. It's amazing. It's really amazing that like he's like, just take care of that alone. Just distracted chanting.
Yeah, that's huge for me. When I'm chanting, I let nothing in. I let nothing in. I just won't do it. A nuclear bomb could go off and I don't care. I don't care. I just don't care. I'm chanting.
And yeah, that's what it means to install the deity of Vishnu into your home. Right there, Jake. I think that just nailed it. When you have the deity, it's like it's installed, it's fixed, it's like it's not going anywhere. It's a solid anchor for your consciousness, right? Yeah, and the more that you practice that, the more those distractions like go away. And we're doing the same thing with our chanting. Like someone asked Radhanath Swami once, like, Maharaj, why don't you bring a deity around? You're traveling all over, like you should have a deity of Krishna, you know. This devotee was thinking like this, like, oh, like deities are very important, right? Radhanath Swami's response: every day I massage 108 Shalagram Shilas. He's like, these Tulsi beads are my deities. I'm constantly associating.
Yeah.
Like that's his conscious. He's understanding the like universality. I want to say like the absolute nature of Vishnu, and also to emphasize this point, Vishnu is not just a Hindu deity. Vishnu means the all-pervading supreme soul, right? The soul of the universe. It's not just Hindus that believe in worshiping Vishnu. Everyone believes in worshiping Vishnu. There's not a single soul in existence who does not worship Vishnu and serve Vishnu. There's not a single soul in existence. We just have the free will to distract ourselves from that. And then we go insane. And then we take birth in other species. But we always come back.
Seriously. Oh my goodness. My dear devotees, I'm 90% sure that is our time for this episode. Thank you, guests, for joining us. We love it when people join the live stream. We put a link in our WhatsApp group. Maybe someday you, the viewer, viewing this on YouTube, will be able to join us live. We would love to have that happen. But thank you for the Sadhu Sangha. And it is just so wonderful to have this time with devotees. And it's very important that devotees have association with each other. And whether you guys say anything or not, you're still bringing a lot to the table just by showing up and being with us. You know, me and Balaram have worked on the show for a very long time, doing a lot of them just by ourselves for many, many episodes, just him. So it's great to have guests come and join us, especially when you have a beautiful view of the ocean. and yeah. But no,
What'd you say?
Did you say something?
I said Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So thank you, viewers on YouTube. Thank you. And please like, subscribe. We're hoping that you find this podcast helpful. Hopefully you are. We're going to end the podcast by chanting the Maha Mantra 3 times. All right, gang.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama.
Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you again for watching us, taking the time out of your schedule. Maybe you got YouTube where you can just like play it and put your phone down and just listen to us. We're working on getting out there. We're going to continue with the podcast.
We have a Spotify account now.
Oh, we do?
We do.
Yay!
So you can also find
awesome.
us.
That's where it's at. That's where it's at.
Got like half of that.
That way they won't have to look at us. All right. Thank you. Thank you again. We love you. Have a beautiful day. And Hare Krishna, beautiful people of the world.
People.
Hey, Bob.